Again, depending on, do you want to start at the home page or do you want to start at provider start?
The provider has to start at the provider start.
You would rather start at provider start? Okay, so hang on for me and let me get the real name of the template and I'll set that up on this user.
If I start from home, how do I do that?
Well, the same way. You're just going to go to the home page from the inbox. And I'll show you that in a second. I'm going to show you your two options
Going from the
that you have to get to the provider start. So I've got to get the real name of the template. And I think if I show you, this may make more sense for you. All right, so you have the option to go to the patient from the inbox, and on your user, we can either set this to be your launching point, the home page,
Yes.
or we can set
it to the home page.
We can either set it to the home page or we can set it to...
Set it to the home page.
Oh, you don't want to go to the provider start?
Go to the home page. Because this one should be used by the technician.
No, I'm asking for you as a doctor. Do you want to go to the home or do you want to go to provider start?
To the home page.
You want to go to the home page, okay. So if you want to start with the home page, this is the template we'll put in here. And this checkbox says that when you open the workflow appointment, it's going to take you to the home page. That's the computer name of it. But the display name is Home OPH. So when you log in as a provider and it says your name up here, you can right-click and go to the patient's chart, and it'll take you right to the home page.
Right-click.
Or, if you prefer, it depends on if you are a double clicker or not. I can double click with my left mouse button, and it'll take me to the home page also. So either double click on with the left mouse button, or right click and open patient's chart, and it'll take you to this one. And then if you want to go to the provider start, you could go to provider start. Because this is typically the provider flow up here at the top. All right, so are we okay on that one?
Yes, we're okay.
Okay, good. And I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you were trying to tell me. So, all right. All right, so now that you're on provider start, you review this information, and then you go to the exam. Notice how your vision is up here. Here's your mood and effect. Here's your IOP. Here's your dominant eye and if the patient was dilated. And then here's your external exam that the technician did. So if you need to change something on here, you can. If you need to go into more detail in the external area, do you see this little link here?
Yes.
You can go in there and it gives you another field to document more information on it.
All right.
So you can document a little bit more. And there's also the modifiers in here as well. So you have that option to do that. And notice that you can move them from one side to the other with this little double arrows. What you have here, if we pick something in here, that you could actually just do that so you don't have to pick it twice from the list. So that'll save you a couple of extra clicks. This also allows you to clear that. I guess I could have hit the clear there instead of, so if I pick something in here that clear will allow me to clear that out. So that's how that works. All right, now, come back up here. So I'm going to close out of this. Save changes, no, because I didn't make any changes. Now, same thing with the slit lamp. Here's your within normal limits that you can put over here.
All right.
So it gives you the basic in here that you're within normal limits, but you can still change that.
If you want, yeah.
Yes. And there's a lot of information in here. There's something that you're missing. You want to review this pretty well, so if we need to help you add to it, we can. And again, we can move stuff up here to the top, or move ones that you don't use from up here, move them down.
Oh, all right.
Yep.
Free type anything you want.
Yep, same thing. Here's your blank up here. So we could overwrite that and just free type in there as well. Same thing. Here's your slit lamp. So you have more information. Here's your gonio exam. So you want to look in here to see what's under the gonio also. There's a lot of stuff in here.
There's a lot. Okay.
I can also go to the posterior from here.
Yes.
Close that out. So here's also the gonio if you want to do it from here. Target IOP. Here's your pachymetry. Here's your applanation. Here's the posterior. Also the within normal limits.
Yes, that's one. Okay.
Here's your view.
All right. Whatever you want to change, you change.
Yep. There's also a blank in there if you want to use the blank. So you have other options in here. Also, again, your modifiers over here. And then your CD ratios. And then here's where if you want to do the drawings.
Yes, that is most important.
So if you want to be able to draw on these, then, for example...
Want to draw the optic nerve, optic disc?
Okay, so I'm going to click on that.
Yes. Okay.
And it's going to load the drawing. So here's the drawing name here, the opticnerve.bmp.
Yes.
We can actually come up here to the imaging and create a boilerplate so you don't have to type optic nerve every time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to click on this little new item button and select new. And I'm going to locate that name down here called optic nerve.
Okay.
So it's opticnerve.bmp.
Okay.
And then I'm going to take the description in here of optic nerve. So I don't have to type it every time.
Okay.
Alright, and I'm going to say here that I want to use the boilerplate description that I just typed up here as the default name.
Okay.
But I can also change that or choose from a drop-down list.
Okay.
And I'm going to click OK. So what that's going to do for me is that once we come in here and we draw on it, you have a pencil, you have text that you can put in there, you have the different shapes that you can do in here. So we have 16 palettes of color here. And then we have an additional 16 here that you can customize with custom colors. And then you can come in here, and with the line, you can also change the style of the line. If you want to make it thicker, you can. And then if you want to draw in here, sorry, I got to get back to the pencil. You can draw on here.
Alright, just click on the pencil and then take it off.
Correct, yeah. You also have your shapes in here. So if we want to draw a shape on here,
Okay.
you have an airbrush that you can come in and do airbrush if you would prefer to do that. And if you make a mistake, here's an undo. It allows you to undo. I like the undo. And then when you save this, notice how it already named it as optic nerve, so I don't have to do that.
Okay.
And then we can choose to put it in. We can have a drawings grouping in here. Right now I'm just going to put it in the external drawings. And that'll save it to the patient's chart. We also have what we call NICS or Next Gen Imaging components that you can put little stamps on here. And we can do that by coming in here to the gallery. And you can make your own. So I'm going to come over here to create a new one for the components, and I'm going to just call it OPH. And I'm going to come to the gallery here, and I'm going to go into the, let me see if I can find it in here.
Tomorrow's the next one.
We have to get to your network to browse out to the. We'd have to browse out to where your images are. So we'd have to have the capability to get out there. I'm not sure if this is the right one, but we'll just take a look and see. Nope, that's not the right one. There are some images out here that we can actually create little stamps from. So we'd have to be able to browse out to those to be able to get those little nicks in here.
Sorry. Let me take control.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about out on the nicks? Okay.
Go to network. Hold a second. Let me get.
Sure.
I just yeah, it's here.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go to test because we're in test. Need to go to EMR, and I need to go to images and to the image boiler. And in the image boiler is where we have things, for example, the blot hemorrhages. And we can actually have the companion text with it. It is hemorrhages. And I'm going to add it to this component set. Then I'm going to go over here to this imaging toolbar.
I got it fixed.
Get up there, tools, component, imaging, component toolbars. And we can create a practice level or a favorite, and I'm just going to call this also OPH. And I'm going to come over here to the components, and I want to add this image or this component to the toolbar. So now I have the little blot hemorrhage that I can put on here as a stamp. And I'm going to come back over here to the little pointer, and if I want to make that a little bit bigger, if I can get to the corners here, I can make it a little bit bigger, and I can also adjust the size of the window down here too. So if I wanted to move both of those around, I could. And also on the boilerplate itself, when I open the optic nerve, if I want to include that toolbar with it when I open it, it will always open and have that toolbar with that blot hemorrhage on there, so I can drop it on there whenever I want to. So I'm going to close this out. I'm not going to save the changes. So I'm going to come back here, and we're going to do the optic nerve. And when I open it up, notice how that blot hemorrhage is there, so that I can drop it on here wherever I want to. And then when I save it, it saves it as the optic nerve, and it saves that image over here on the patient's chart. So I can reactivate that to see that image with that blot hemorrhage on there. So we can show you how to build more of those next-gen imaging components, or NICs, that you can drop on here, because we have items such as the horseshoe tears, cotton wool spots. What else do they have in there? There's quite a few of them in there that we can create. Or if you have others that you need to create, they can be created in here. So did that make sense?
Yes, it does.
It's a nice thing to be able to have those little
That's where just click and go.
items that you can drop on there, right? Especially with the items that you're always doing, like the horseshoe tears and things.
Not all.
So in this imaging component gallery is where you build them. And now that we have it pointed here, you can also clean this up too, because there's a bunch of orthopedic images in here. Let's see if there's the cotton wool spots. Let's see if I can find that one in here. Here's the cordial nevus with drusen. Here's the cloudy vitreous. Here's the cobblestones. So it just depends on which one. There's a JPEG and a bitmap. So we could also come in here and do this one. Open this one back up, see if I set the initial size. Yeah, I did. Okay. All right, so those now are in there. So now when I come to the imaging toolbars, my current one, and I'm going to open that one up, I can come and say that I want to add the cobblestone to that. Oops. This happened to me the other day, too. See if it dropped it in there. Yep, it put it in there. All right. And so I'm going to close this out. And I'm going to reopen the optic nerve. And so now the cobblestone one is on there that I can drop on there. You can also adjust the view here, so if you want to see the view a little bit better. We can also adjust the font size. If you want the font size to be a little bit bigger, we can take that to a different size as well. because you can also come in here and put text on here.
So you can type.
And,
Okay.
right, and this one is like a little point and click, so if I put an X in here, and if I want to do that, wherever I put that, it's going to do that. And again, remember that we have an undo,
Yeah.
and we can also change the color,
Open.
but you have to change the color first, trying to get it to the yellow. And then if we put that on there,
Okay.
and then we'll resave that. So now you have a cobblestone and a blot hemorrhage on that one. So for each of these drawings, like the cornea, we can do the same thing. We can open it up,
Okay.
locate the cornea BMP here, and you can go in and do your boilerplates.
No, but we can draw directly now, can't we?
Yes.
Instead of going to the border point, we can draw directly into this.
I'm sorry, say again?
As you open the corner now, as you open the drawing of
You
the
can
corner,
just draw on it and you
I can draw anything inside it.
Yeah.
Yeah, without going to the...
But the boilerplate allows you to save it as the name so you don't have to try cornea every time.
Okay.
Because see, if I don't set up the boilerplate, and I come here to save it, I'm going to have to type cornea every time.
Okay. Okay.
So you set up the boilerplate, and it'll have cornea every time, and I don't have to say, I don't have to type in cornea every single time. Does that make sense, showing that visual?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I was showing you why you would want to set up the boilerplate on it, so that you don't have to do that every single time. And you want to come in and say that I want to use the boilerplate description that I just typed there as the default. And that's why I look down here to see what the actual name of the image is. So it's, and then here's where I can assign that same toolbar to the cornea, so that I don't have to go pick it every time. That now when I come into the cornea, that's also with it, and I can drop that on there. And then when I save it, it's already going to have cornea on there for me to write. So that's going to save you a little bit of time there as well. So that's why you'll want someone to go into production and do the same thing for each one of these, and then you can also, there's a blank one and a custom one that you can set up as well. So it's kind of nice to have that, because at the very end when you do your chart note, for example, if I just generate the chart note right here, and I needed to include that drawing of the optic nerve into the document that, let's say, I might need to fax it to another physician, then I could include that optic nerve image into my chart note and fax that instead of having to fax two separate pieces. So here's my chart note, and if I wanted to come down here and include it, there's a medication reconciliation. I'm just going to put it down here. If I wanted to come in and insert that, I'm going to go to Insert. I'm going to select Patient Image, and there's my optic nerve.
Okay.
So I can include that here in my chart note.
Okay. So what did we go to Insert?
Yeah, I went to Insert and did Patient Image. And as long as that image is saved to the chart, over here I can insert it into here. Right. And if I want to resize that a little bit, I can resize that.
Okay.
Okay, so I tell you can't come in your office. Okay, baby, talk to you.
Take that back out just a little bit. And then I can come up here and do a file. I can do a custom print fax. So if I wanted to print that chart note and send that, which contains the image in it, then I could either print it or I could come in here and I could fax it. Oops, put that back in there, chart note. And I could fax that to a physician. To there's the provider, or I can come in and I can pick one of the other providers,
Okay.
or I can pick the physician list and pick from your physicians in here. And here's the list of all your physicians, and if I needed to fax it out to someone, that I could fax it out to one of the physicians in the list. So that's kind of nice that you can be able to do that. So a little further down, let's see what we have. And if you need to bill for the drawing, there's the bill for the drawing. And it is it an initial? Is it subsequent? Which I?
No, this is the one she asked me.
If you need to do another visual acuity, here's where you can do that down here.
Yes, I do.
And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to page up.
Sure, thank you.
And so there is the exam. Can go on to the procedures. Here's where we have some generic office procedures. We have the visual field is on here. The insurance would come over. You select the diagnosis. If we need to add to this, items can be added to this list also. And then your procedures over here. So if we pick, let's see, what was the other one? So you can choose the procedures, you can choose the modifiers.
Yeah, but you're not taxing it to me.
Why did they
Cash.
Okay.
You can, here's your consent information.
She's a supervisor. I want to reschedule here.
There's a consent. Have the patient sign that. You can scan that back in.
I was trying to sign. Print it.
Yeah, you'd have to print it and sign it.
Okay.
There's a custom consent if you need to come in and do a little bit more information on it. There's a custom consent.
What's their last name?
Okay.
So that's another one that you can do. You can put your procedure description in here. You can build my phrases in here on the user. So if you wanted to choose from the my phrases to put in here, you would need to build some to put in here for the consent. Specific risks. Here are procedure supplies and information. If there were any drugs given for the billing. Procedure follow-up, patient instructions. And if you want to upload the data, here's a return to clinic.
Okay. 2 weeks.
Sorry, clicked on the wrong one. In 2 weeks. We need to add your physicians. I'll show you where those get added. And for what?
Okay.
I'm just going to put a follow-up exam.
Okay.
So you can pick more than one item in here. And then this will end up in your return to clinic information on the home page. So there's a lot of things that you can do here in the procedures. I'm going to go ahead and navigate back to the, thank you, yes. And you can also do a quick save in here, so if this is something you commonly do, you can actually save it based on that foreign body removal
If you click on the...
on the little disc.
Yeah.
And then you can say for the current provider or the current specialty, and you can save it. The next time you come in to do one of these, you can choose from here, and it will do your set name, and you can just, and it'll populate the data in here.
Code extension is 0.
I'm sorry, say again?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's what we call the quick saves, that you can save that by, and I think it's by user. All right, so let's go back to the exam. And move back to the procedures. Right. So there are other procedures in here that you want to look at. Here's the anterior laser. Same thing, we have quick save. So if you want to do it for the YAG, for the ALT, for the suture lysis, you can do any one of those and set these up and save it based on what procedure it is, what laser treatment it is. And then the next time you come in, you just pick from here, and you click at that one item, and it filters in those defaults that you set in. So that's kind of nice that they did this in here.
You can't tell me my face don't look clear on this.
So you want to look through these items to see what's in here. Here's your pre-op meds.
But this
It'll show what time, but here's where it has a list of items in here. Who it was completed by, so your surgeons, your post-op meds, laser settings. Time completed, meds given, condition at discharge. So there's pick list underneath each of these. So you want to take a look at those items that are in there. Your visual fields that were performed, the findings.
The technician, yes.
So determine who's gonna do those. Here's where your if you have the interface here, or if you have the interface that does a print capture.
Okay, so anything else?
So you want to take a look at these items and remember those alerts. Here's where those alerts are.
At the end you save.
Say again?
At the end you save.
Yes, at the end you save. So if you come in here and the test performed and you save that, it'll drop it into the text area here. So, and it's going to ask what eye, if you do what tests are performed.
Okay, so thank you very much for coming in.
And then here's where you can put a comment in here.
Again, yes.
What the follow-up might be. So that's how you can fill that one out.
Okay.
So you want to look through some of the other diagnostic ones that are in here, the general.
Okay.
There's, you do the Botox.
Okay. Alright, we don't do that. Let's get on.
Don't, okay. All right, onto the plan. This is where your ocular diagnosis, your ocular conditions, here's where you pick your assessment. You have a couple of options here. We can do the add common. And what that's going to do is pick based on these groupings. So if there are diagnosis codes that are not in here that need to be added, we can add to this. I had a doctor that wanted it to say brow ptosis. So we were able to change the description and have them both in there.
Okay.
So each one of these you'll want to look through to see if they have the diagnosis codes that you need.
Okay.
And if you want to add them to your favorites, you can click here to add it to your favorite list. Because you can search by a favorite list for this particular user. Back to the system practice template. On the system one, that same one where we went in to do the appointment status. Down here is the one for the OPH assessments. So you notice how here's the ones for the refractive. Here are the ones for the cataract. They start right here and come down to here.
Okay, I've seen that.
Okay, and if you need to add to them, you can add to them. But this is where you do it. So, for example, here's that ptosis one. Notice how it has a qualifier 1, a qualifier 2, and a descriptor. So if you wanted to add to this, for example, that one physician that wanted to add brow ptosis, we went to the add new list item. And we came to the OPH assessments. And the qualifier 1 is going to be external. Here's the diagnosis code for the ptosis.
74.
And she wanted it to say brow ptosis. And we added that. And then I'm going to group it again and resort it. So now we have a brow ptosis. Or if I want to sort it by the qualifier, we can do it by the qualifier, and you can see the list. What was it, 374? No, I went the wrong way. So there's our ptosis and our brow ptosis.
Okay.
So when I come back in here now, and I go to the external, notice how I have the ptosis and I have the brow ptosis.
Okay.
So it's easy enough to add to those lists in there as well.
Okay. It's okay. Go on.
All right, now, For the impression over here, you have a couple of options. You can either pick the diagnosis, and you'll need to pick the side, because once it gets added to this grid down here, once we do this add to grid, we can't change that. That's a read-only in there.
Okay.
All right, so you have to pick the side before you add it to the grid. Now, here's your glaucoma suspect. You can either do one of two things. You can choose from in here, these 4 items, and you can do it this way. But if you don't want to have to click through all 4 of these every time, you can actually come in and create the my list, or the my phases, and come in here and create an impression for the glaucoma. To do that head up here. I'm just going to put that in there just so I remember, because I want to see how it adds it. I have to remember how it adds it in here.
Okay.
Let me do that. So rather than do the 4 fields here, I'm going to clear this out. What you would do is you would hit the add button, because you have the diagnosis in the side, and then you would come to the my phrases, and then you would drop that in there. So that's a little bit easier if you do the my phrases, because that saves you having to click into 4 fields. Then on your plan, you have the option to do plan details in here. You could do a lot of these items in here, and then you could say follow up in 2 weeks with your provider for, and again, I'm just going to do a follow-up exam. And let's say also, what do we have in here for glaucoma? So just whatever we decide to put in there. So it's going to be listed in here. Oops, let me get it there. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that other one there. So here's where you can do your save and close, and here's where it put it in for the follow-up. So you can either do it that way, or some providers like the quick plans in here. So here's one for glaucoma, and you can create quick plans in here as well. So here's some more glaucoma ones. So you can look and see what the glaucoma ones present.
No, I don't think he sent me.
Okay.
We'll pick that one. And then, so you want to make sure that you pick your side, you have your information, you have your return. When you click this Add to Grid, you want to make sure everything is set up because I can't come in here and change it. It's read only. I can't make a change to that. If I didn't get the I in there, I have to delete this and rekey the whole thing. So that's why I want to show you that this you cannot change. So make sure you have your side or your I in here. Make sure you have everything set before you hit the Add to Grid. So for each of your diagnosis, you can come in here and use the My Phrases. You can create those, or you can come down here and free type. And then go to your quick plans.
And choose one.
If there's not one in here for what you need, you can either free type it in here, or if there's something that you're always typing in here, again, we can go to this over here.
What do you need?
Yeah.
And the one for the quick plans is still on this custom DB. Here it is, OPH Quick Plans. So here are those quick plans that you saw down here. So we have a qualifier 1 and a qualifier 2, in the list item. So if I wanted to come in here and put one for that brow ptosis, I can go to the OPH Quick Plan. My qualifier 1 is, I'm just going to put it as ptosis.
Okay.
And I'll just add that one in there. We'll do a save and close. It should be down at the bottom. So there you go.
Okay.
So that's how easy it is to come and put one of those in.
Okay, let's go to the coding.
All right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to add to grid. We'll go to the coding. And on the coding, it pulls forward the insurance, the visit type, the history information, your diagnoses. It pulls the items that we selected, the procedures. If we want to make sure we have all the procedures, we can click on this Load Procedures button.
Load procedures, okay.
Okay? And for some reason I can't click on that. But notice how you have, here's the foreign body removal that we did. Here's the refraction. Okay, so we'll do that. There we go. Okay, I must have clicked on that a bunch of times then, so. Sorry. Get that to quit clicking.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. All right, so there's the refraction, there's the foreign body, there's the visual field tech, there's the ophthalmic exam. The only one that has the diagnosis connected to it is the foreign body. So for each of these, we'll need to come in and make sure that we have the diagnosis set for that particular code. And I can actually, we're on 4 or 5, so I can actually use the arrow to go and go to the next charge and put which diagnosis. And then I'll go back to the beginning here and make sure. So here's the ophthalmic exam. Save. And then I can move forward through. That one has one. So notice how I'm on 2 of 5. Yes.
Expense.
3 of 5 needs it.
So it's up to the insurance company.
And I think I already did 4. There's 4, and then there's 5. Okay, so we have diagnoses on all of the procedures
Next one.
that are in here now. The next thing that the physician will do, and take note that it says here that when we do the calculate code that it's going to determine an I code first. And if you decide that you want to submit an I-E&M code, then you're going to come up and do that. But it's going to do just a regular E&M code. So you do the decision-making level here. So we already reviewed the procedures. Number 2, we're choosing the decision-making level. And then based on the items that were calculated as we went through the visit, I'm going to hit the calculate code, and it's going to recommend the 99214.
Okay.
All right, now, one of the other things that we also need to do in the system practice template is there is one in here called ngkbm iconfig. And one of the things we like to do here is make sure that we say when we print the chart, or we want it to automatically print the chart note when we hit the submit button to save you a click. Because we always want you to be able to generate a chart note at the end of the visit, so you don't have to go look at the template, so you go look at the final note.
Okay.
The other thing we also want you to consider doing is for each of your providers that are going to be your ophthalmologists. And just for this example, I'm going to pick this doctor because I know we don't have you in the list yet here in test. But determine the specialty, whether it's retina or general, and give the user or the providers permission to have this use copy exam, last exam forward. So if the patient comes back, when we go into the exam area, and even in the tech area for the exam, it gives you the opportunity to copy the exam from the previous visit. So I'm going to save that, and I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And before I calculate this, I'm going to go back to the tech exam for you.
Alright, so what's the phone number for that?
And go down to the bottom.
You know the phone number?
And notice how we now have a copy last exam feature available. So if the patient comes back at another visit, you can just do the copy exam and it pulls it forward. Also on the provider exam area, we now have this copy last exam that we didn't have before available. So when they come back, you can just click on that and it will copy the data forward. All right, so now we come in here, we did our calculation. So I'm going to do the calculate code. It's recommending a 99214 because of the moderate complexity. If you choose to do an I code, you can manually do that up here. And at this point, if you want to go ahead and submit the code, that will send it over to the practice management side. So if you agree with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the submit code. And it's going to send all the procedures from the EHR to the EPM. And that actually should have allowed it to generate the chart note too. So we may, I'm not sure why that didn't do that for us, but I'm going to go back to the plan. On the plan down at the bottom is where you also have your patient plan that you want to be able to give to the patient, which is part of the meaningful use. So this has their medications, what they presented for. It has their instructions. It has any follow-ups, the services that were billed. So that's something that you can give to the patient. We also want to be able to generate the final chart note so that it pulls everything in from the encounter. So again, you have a record so that if your patient does request a copy of their medical record, that you don't have to go back and try and generate it. Because remember that in the EHR, You can set the lockdown time in the system so that after a certain amount of days or hours that the encounter locks and somebody cannot change it. So notice how I regenerated this chart note, and because I did that, the image is no longer in here that we put in there before. So if I want to come back and put it in, I can come back and do insert patient image, and I can insert that optic nerve back in here.
Okay. All right.
Now, if we also have this set up to display in the provider approval queue, and you wanted to be able to sign off on this now without having to wait, we could do that, but you'd have to set this up to display in the queue, and we'd get a check mark here where you could actually click on it and sign off on it, and it would actually at the bottom put electronically signed by you as the provider. But the OPH chart note would have to be set up to display in the queue before you can do that. So what happens is that at the end of the encounter, you generate your chart note. So that over here on the history, you have the templates and the documents. There's the tech report. But you have at the very end the OPH chart note that you could either fax or print to someone, or again at the end of the, at some point in time, if your patient requests their chart note to be faxed or printed to them, that you could come in here and move that chart note over and be able to either print it out or to give to the patient as part of their chart note for all the encounters that they presented. So that's basically how you maneuver through the templates to document that information. Now, one of the things we didn't quite go over yet, though, is if you wanted to do a prescription, an RX check for their eyes, there's also a template in here where when we did the readings, you can indicate whether or not you want to give them, if this is their reading glasses, if it's computer, if it's distance. I'm going to close this out here. And if these are the readings that you want to use, then we can set that these are the ones that you want to use down here. What the material is.
Plastic, yeah, 39.
Okay. Any treatment?
Photochroming, something, or tint.
Okay, I'm just going to do this just to have some things on here. And then we can choose to generate the document.
Okay.
And what it'll do is it'll generate the prescription here with this.
Okay.
All right, now what we can also do is add your logo on here as well. But one of the other things that we recommend that you do is that if you want to save this to the patient's chart, that we can actually come over here to the File Report drop-down area. And set up the report. Let me see what we have in here. To run, and not for just this location, but for all locations, to be able to generate that glasses RX print 1.
Alright, so could you come back in?
We can also save this report as a near vision, as a distance vision, so you have a separate report, because if we do one for distance and one for computer, it'll overwrite the one that's on here. So if I want to save this to the chart as the glasses one, then if the patient loses it, we can just come back here and reactivate it and then put this back out for them if we need to. So what we can do is go into that report file here,
And you want something password, in the changing now.
and in the EMR,
and
in the reports,
be accepted.
under our custom,
I,
if we wanted to make one be a
yes.
distance vision and one be a computer versus a reading one, we could come in here and copy this report,
What's the time?
and I'm going to call this as, let's say, a near vision. So that way we could have a separate report in here,
So that they can fax. Okay? And it's one person. Alright? No, you see, never say it on Monday.
and again, I'm going to set this for all locations. So that if we decided that this was a near vision, and when we generate the report, we would come over here to do it. And actually, before I do that, I want to save this. There we go. And I'm going to do the near vision. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and preview this one to make sure. So it's now the near vision one. So that we have our near vision one listed here. And we also have the one that was just our regular glasses, which was the distance vision one. So you have two separate reports. And if you had a computer one, we could save one as a computer one, so you'd have the three, however many that you wanted to do, save them as. Could be their sunglasses, near, computer, however many you wanted to do.
Okay.
So does that kind of give you an idea of the templates and how those can be used?
Yes, I'll practice it and see what happens.
Yeah. You want to practice and test. There's also a contact lens evaluation in here. If you do contact lenses.
Okay.
And there's also a separate contact lens report in here.
Okay.
So that when you order them, that your print document here is going to be the print RX. There is a contact lens one, and that will pull data in here.
Okay. All right. Anything else? I can practice all this.
Okay. So, was there anything else you needed me to show, or will this work for you?
He should be in.
It's okay. Is there any way I can contact you in case I have difficulties?
I would go through Cindy Walsh. You'll need to go through her to schedule time with the trainer.
Okay.
Because I'll be honest with you, I don't have control over my schedule.
Okay, I'll get Bob to do that.
Yeah, have him go through Cindy, and that way he can find time with an ophthalmology trainer to answer any other questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
All right. Well,
So,
Yes, thank you. So,
yeah, so Val, was there anything else that you guys needed, or was that enough?
no, can I ask you, if, for that, when we print that chart or what prescription, this final still next-gen logo, how can I change logo you? Because we change, we use our logo in EPM, but I don't know where to change logo in EHR.
Got it. Okay.
Thank you.
If you want the logo, do you want it on the prescription pads and on the document?
Yes.
Because there's two different places.
Okay.
Okay, for the document,
well, can I log out now? Sorry.
So, excuse me.
Can I log out now? Sorry.
No, leave for a while because we use your computer. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
all right, in the subheader is where you replace the next-gen logo. So what I'll need you to do is drop your logo into the documents. See if I can get up here. I get to the drop down here. Okay, let me try it this way. I'll need you to put your logo for both test and prod,
Yeah.
and I'll just show you in the test one, into the documents folder,
Yep. Documents for that.
but into the doc images.
Okay.
And it needs to be a bitmap,
Okay.
okay?
Yes.
And as long as it's a bitmap,
Yes.
then we can actually drop it into the, let's see if there was a thumbnail in here. But that's where our next-gen logo is.
Okay.
As long as it's in here, then we can put it in the, in there. And your signatures for your providers, if you can
Okay.
save them as their name in here as a bitmap.
Yeah.
If you want them on the documents, we can do that now.
Yeah.
But all we'd have to do is delete this out,
Yes.
and then you do an insert, and then you do an image,
Yes.
and then browse out to that
Document.
documents, doc images,
Yes.
and as long as it's in there, then we'll be able to replace your logo in here. Okay?
Okay.
Now, for the crystal reports, it's different. In those crystal reports reside here in the reports folder,
October 1997.
and RX Fax and RX Print, you don't have crystal reports on here, so you would need to save your logo and send it to one of the trainers, or to Cindy so she could send it to the trainer so we could put it on there and send it back to you.
Okay. Yes.
Okay?
So that's just like a RPT. That's the report. So
Yeah, that's the crystal reports of the RPT.
Notja has to generate that for us.
Yeah, especially if you don't have crystal reports on one of the workstations.
Okay.
If you had it on the workstation, we could help you do it on your system.
Okay.
But if you don't, in most practices, they only have like the viewer in there
Yes.
because they don't purchase it. Now, the other thing we would want to do is make sure we get it on that Glasses RX
Yeah.
print. So then we could copy that and rename it like I did the near vision, a distant vision, a computer one, whichever one you want. And then there's also this contact lens report,
From when you went to the
Okay.
bathroom, the website or whatever.
because that's a separate report as well.
Yes.
For real?
Yeah.
She was giving you a list of.
So that's how that would be done. So did that give him a good overview? Is that what you guys needed?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah. That's good.
And I'm sorry, sometimes he spoke and I couldn't hear him, and sometimes he was talking while I was trying to ask another question.
Yeah. That's helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
So that's all for today.
Well, that's all he wanted to see. That's
Okay.
why I'm asking. Is there something else that you wanted to see, or?
Yeah.
'Cause
That's.
I wasn't given much direction other than to just show an overview of the template.
Okay, yeah, that's, yeah, if Dr. Occurs doesn't have anything, then that's it, because I'm not
Yeah.
Clinician.
There are some other templates over here, but I think he probably had enough to deal with. Because there's a glaucoma flow here, there's a surgery schedule, there's a motility template that you can go through to document information. So he may want to take a look at those, and if he has particular questions, there's also a post-op exam in here. But I think the way he's going to learn is he's going to have to go in there and plunk around in there himself.
That's what I'm going to do?
Because I can show you, but, you know, you're going to have to kind of look at them yourself, too, because there's the IOP check as well.
Yeah, Dr. Chris, I think if you have time, maybe better we can show you first, and then you play around, and then maybe better.
Okay.
So see, here's some more in here for the IOP check. Here's the glaucoma follow-up. When the last exam was. So it just depends on whatever else you want to look at. Here's your target IOP, your visual acuity. Again, we get into the exam area down here. There's a motility one also. So it just depends on what you need to document in here.
Okay. Oh, I think it's okay.
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 All right.
All right.
So again, give him a chance to come in here and play. Set up his permissions in here.
I will discuss that with Bob.
So when he logs in, that it has his name up here, and it has him. He can set himself here.
Okay.
So when he documents, and then if he has any further questions, we can get Cindy to schedule time with one of the ophthalmology trainers so we can go through some other questions with him.
Okay, Karen. Yeah. I just question.
Sure.
Any special permission he needs the administrator, the user, administrator.
The permissions that you have are going to be based on what group you're in and system admin as to what permissions you're granted to do things with.
Yes, okay.
So it depends on if they put you in the physician group, you're going to be able to prescribe and to draw and things like that. The technicians may have limited or maybe a little more refined, so that they may not be able to do certain things that you can do.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we want to make sure we get those crystal reports adjusted for you. And the other thing was that in the prescriptions, when we get over to the medication area, that for the doctors, get down here to the medications, that you want to set up their favorites. So if they like to prescribe certain medications, like for this doctor has pain meds, birth control, if you have some ophthalmic ones or like certain ones they like to prescribe for diabetes, it just depends. You can create those favorites based on the doctor that is up here at the top. So if I go to Dorfman now and go back into the medication module and go into the prescribe new, notice how he just has the favorites. So you can come over to this favorites and you can click on the little button with your left mouse button to create a second favorite. So you can come in here and I'm going to rename this group. And I'm going to call this maybe OB-GYN because I think that's what that one was for. And then if he had possibly some post-op drops that he wanted to be able to prescribe, and if he had drops that he'd like to prescribe for glaucoma. These are just filters. So how about one for glaucoma? What would one of the drops be? Possibly like the Betagan or something like that. Then we could drag and drop that over here. And then if he wanted it to say in here, we can come in and edit this, and the quantity is not 30, but it's typically maybe 1 with, I'm going to just put 3 refills. And the ophthalmic route, if you wanted it to go into left eye, right eye, both eyes, you can preset that up in here.
Okay, Bob. The clinic is going on, so we're in trouble.
So you can set those up in here so that it has already the right eye, the left eye, the both eyes, so that he doesn't have to do that every time he picks the 0.5%. So I could come over here and do this. And here's the one, here's the quantity. Let me go ahead and edit this again because the quantity should be 1. There we go. So I'm going to edit. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put this one into the left eye. Quantity is going to be 1 instead of 30. And I'm going to say 3 refills on that one. So I have a right eye and a left eye in here. And then if I want to do the same thing and pull one over here and say I want this to be for both eyes. So I have right eye, left eye. I'm going to edit that. And so that he doesn't again have to change this every single time. We can come down here and say into, there's 1 into both eyes. Here's where they, make sure I take that, make that 1, and make that the 3 refills. So now he can just pick which one, right eye, left eye, or both eyes, without having to select from here and then go change it in the module. So he can just pick that and it already has that. And if he wants to put the bottle in here, then you can do that. And then from here is where you would come in and either print it or fax it or e-prescribe it when you have your e-prescribing set up. So it just makes it a whole lot easier to save this information in here. Now there's also in here under the options, we can come in and say whether or not we want to make the font size bigger, if we want to see the generic name next to it, if we want to be able to display comments, duration, refills. If we don't want to limit the refills, we can uncheck that and we won't have to fill it out every time. So that when we come into the glaucoma here, oops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. Let me go back into the, okay, I've lost control, so I'm not sure if I'm still in the WebEx or not. Oh, there it is. Let's see if I can get back there. EHR. There we go. Okay, so let me delete that out. Oh, there it is, temporary. Okay.
Tuesday.
I actually want to delete that one out. Excuse me. Alright, so we'll go to the glaucoma. I'm going to go to right click and edit. So there's, notice how the limit renewals is grayed out now. So it just makes it easier to be able to filter by those favorites. And this favorites is done based on the doctor that we have up at the top, not by user. Had
Okay,
another
all right.
group. The all will show everything, but you filter by what's in those lists.
It's okay. It's all right. If any questions, we'll come back last, okay?
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Is there anything else, fellas, that you want me to go over, or?
No?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you making the time.
Thank you very much for your patience.
All right. Uh-huh. Okay, so Val, did I answer all your questions?
Yeah, no, next time.
Okay. All right. So I can go ahead and close out the WebEx now?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Well, is Bob there?
All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yes. Okay, you did. What then? What insurance, please? Your position is in Ghana. I trust in the fact that I did.
And he can come upstairs to the computer, right? He's a comment. By the time I have to get back, when he took the hospital with appointment.
What's your address, please?
That's what I said.
Before she, she was two patients and the other one, two. I think it's not there. He could take his stepson.
Ew. Thank you for calling us on comprehensive healthcare business.
Hello? Hello, how can I help you? I'm hearing you. Hello, if you hear me, can you please call us back? Thank you. Thank you for calling Apple Comprehensive Medical Group. This is Valerie speaking. How may I help you? Rheumatologist, yes. Not available until August. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, ma'am. Bye-bye. Thank you for holding, Valerie speaking. How may I help you? Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to touch my lips.
No, baby, everybody is here.
Make sure it's not there.
Everybody is working. Naika? Is it which department? Is it Shamika? Shamaka. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Sure. If you don't get me, just come. Okay? Thank you. You too, my dear. You take care. Bye-bye.
I'm not talking to you no more, man. You're being a bitch right now.
I just put my foot in my mouth.
Continue.
You sound like you're crying. Don't continue. You're better off speaking to you. I just put my foot in my mouth.
Really,
Thank you for calling up and talking to me. So good morning. How may I help you? Which doctor? I don't think so. I didn't give the impression. If you don't have insurance, There wasn't that what I was thinking about. That was I didn't remember that word.
That's fine, I never heard of it.
Okay.
Doesn't make a difference between you and the man. I never heard of that. I never heard that in my life.
So somebody who wants to
Okay,
say,
ma'am.
So you know how much
Please do it. Alright, $6, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
Bye. Riley's at the website. Oh, God. Thank you for calling up from Comprehensive Medical Group. Riley speaking. How may I help you? I think so. Like it's my fault. Excuse me, ladies. Like it's my fault. Like it's my fault. Well, she know that now we are talking how much years since she was downstate and she had to pay $60. That's why she never come back. Now she had to pay, you telling me I had to pay $60 to putting whether it's insurance or not. Whose fault is that? She asked me, she said apparently she didn't come back like a long time because she was told she had to pay $60 for insurance, for research if that is still the case. I said, ma'am, if you don't have insurance. But why she don't hear that? She went to somebody, she's 60 something years old and she never heard of it. She know Dr. Opiata so long. So if you don't want to pay to go there, you know why you can walk inside, don't go for yourself. You come and tell them why you should pay.
calm down, girl. Calm down, calm it down, girl. Calm it down, girl. Calm it down.
You see, please, them is so like that is based on friendship. I don't know.
How the fuck you want to tell people?
That's my fault if you don't want to go. You paying for me to go out there
Alright,
like
then
so.
shut up. How may I help you?
So I'm like, okay, shoot. Poor Jacqueline. Jacqueline?
Don't let Jacqueline be like me, please. weird how the kids are looking like she loves it, she's like a team, and then to make it. She loves to have the bunch of two guys.
She's the person that will listen to her and then she does it because everything she says. She don't need
Good
it.
afternoon. I'm good, thanks. Miss, Anyway, I'm just calling to give you a message from Miss James. Miss Velma James. Could you take this number down, please? She wants to know if she can make an appointment. She said she has a very urgent matter.
Same week,
Okay, she can come in tomorrow.
same month.
I have to skip
Dr.
that
Grenade.
conversation.
Yeah. So if she could, we can call her. The number is 347 393.
Yes, I think about it. Yes, I just have to.
She said it's very important that she see Dr.
And what she said, he was very well endowed.
Yes. We should do
Very
that before.
EHR Opt.
She what?
Thank you, Louis.
And then how about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
Miss Kemba gave up office already.
Especially if you have an outbreak. Easy to get you like that.
Can I find something for that?
But they have to be technically physical. But you know, all the time.
You are IEM?
Thanks for using WebEx. Please visit our website at www.webex.com.
Okay, you call regarding, hold on please, let me see if I know.
Oh, she ain't come back?
Miss Natalie, I have Miss Uriel Fraser on the line.
Here.
Uriel Fraser, she said she called regarding medication. I don't know. She wants to speak to someone, please. Could be someone else.
It's so crazy. She'll be a bit.
Okay, 50340. No, 503. Yes, ma'am. All right. Yes, thank you very much. Ms. Fraser? Yeah. Thank you for holding on. I'm going to transfer you now to Ms. Natalie. She'll be able to help you, okay? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Have a nice day. Ms. Fraser, do you have your, do you have your email address? No. Okay, would you like me to update your, okay, thank you. Have a nice day.
He does? Sheila?
He looked at me, he see you there?
Brooklyn, Church Avenue, no ma'am, this is Apple Comprehensive Medical.
I know the ways in Church
525 Church Avenue, that's in 52nd or 53rd.
This more cake? Yeah, this more cake left over.
52 and 53 Street.
Years until we had Washington State. Washington State, I was suggesting.
5205.
Who said that? Who's from the line?
Yes, ma'am.
Washington State.
Her boss?
52nd and 53rd
She
Street.
used to wear skirts all the time.
No, she got her skirt. Her dress.
He was the first. That's her story.
This is bad. When you think about somebody came knocking at the door, she had a door locked. The racist person came knocking on the door, coming in. No, it's not coming.
How old is she?
Money.